Hi everyone,
Webto.
here the internet's busiest music nerd, and it is time for a review of the new AMINE project, Limbo. This is the long-awaited sophomore commercial album from West Coast rapper Aminé. It has been a while since he put out his breakout debut LP in 2017, Good For You, the same year he was named as a XXL freshman, which I know, just 3 years ago, but for Aminé, it feels like ages in the past. Maybe because he's not one of these rappers who seems desperate to be in your face all the time. He did put out a somewhat sleepy mixtape back in 2018, and he has, of course, released singles and features here and there. But for the most part, the gap in time between the first and second record here has been a low-key one. I was pretty excited to give his next effort here a listen, not just because tracks in the lead-up like Shimmy as well as Compensating featuring Young Thug were standout, but also because Aminé showed so much potential on his debut record. Not every song from that LP is amazing, but when he's on, he is witty, he's clever, he's a little eclectic and with a great sense of humor, and essentially I was hoping he would come through with a more colorful and consistent project this time around, and Limbo is certainly that. This thing is a relatively versatile and tight set of 14 tracks, and I think it's fair to say that Aminé brings his most risky and passionate crop of songs yet. The whole thing starts off with the fun, classy opener Burden, with its throwback Kanye-inspired soul sample-heavy production. The vocal line, the guitar, the laid-back groove, it all sounds 2000s as fuck. Then the appeal of the song comes down to Aminé's pen game and flow, which there are elements of that remind me of Jay-Z and Pusha T, a bit of Mace, Kanye West too. And since he embodies his obvious influences in a creative way, those comparisons aren't a bad thing. With Aminé's writing on the track, we get a few verses that feel like a free associative character portrait. When your skin darker, shit gets harder, this a black album, like Sean Carter, screaming like I'm Rico, moshing like I'm Steve-O, then going on later to say wide awake but comatose, Hollywood's an overdose, girls say innuendos, I'm in limbo, but I know the ropes. I mean, there's just humor and swagger in spades on this thing. Instrumentally, we get a much more contemporary approach on the following Woodlawn, which is a mid-paced trap cut with a super prominent flute sample, some melodic rap flows laced into the song too. It's kind of short, it's kind of mild, but still serves as an effective Came a Long Way anthem. Things do pick up though later on the song Roots, which not only boasts a guest verse from rapper Jid, but also those soul influences come pouring back in. Fat, luxurious beats, electric piano, and wonderful singing and harmonies from none other than Charlie Wilson. And Aminé's flow and delivery is so expressive on this one, you really feel every word, every line, especially poetic standouts like, I'm not a succulent or sucker baby girl, these roots made me, I bring my flowers to the world. Then on the track, of course, Jid proves why he is one of the most in-demand lyricists right now. His mathematical rhyme patterns, his layered wordplay, his funny inflections, it's all very colorful and eccentric. The track Can't Decide is another short and mild cut with a somewhat cute lead melody on the hook. I can't decide. The Latin guitar sample on the song is nice too. I appreciate the change of pace stylistically, but Aminé's opening verse is not the strongest on the record, especially when he gets into those counting bars. Plus, the detail lyrically in the track is sort of lacking as well. The story, the narrative of this indecision, of this relationship that could be a relationship, but maybe it's not. He just doesn't really dive into it enough to make it compelling. Thankfully, the track Compensating is a bit better at getting to the heart of its lyrical focus, which is essentially, I fucked up, I made my bed in this relationship context, and now I'm going to sleep in it. Sort of a pining over old flames kind of thing, an energy that Young Thug reinforces with his guest verse. One of the better features on the record for sure. It's wonderful, it's vocally dynamic, but for the most part the track is a moody, cold-blooded, low-key banger. We then get another short track without a lot of lyrical substance to it with Shimmy. I do like the sharp ODB references, and there are some funny lyrical gems here and there. The instrumental's relatively bold too, despite it not being as in depth as some of the more topical songs here, it still lands, still leaves an impression. Pressure in My Palms also serves as another highlight. It has appearances from Slow Tie as well as Vince Staples, but they don't steal the show because their contributions to the track are so short. Really, it's Aminé who stands out in the first leg of his own song, and after a really cool beat switch post the midpoint. And again, I think the lyrics on this track just stand out. I mean, just take this first verse, for example, where he has lines like, "This Britney Spears when she was bald." Like, you know, that's how crazy this track is. "I got more pressure in my palms than Arthur," with the fist. And also the Fergie line was hilarious. Matt Barnes versus Derek Fisher, "Caught You," the altercation line. So great flow, great reference points on this track. Following this, though, the record does take a bit of a dip. I thought the track Riri in the lead up to the record was a bit of a snoozer, a very mellow and mild and somewhat toothless melodic trap cut, very moody, very low-key, and not much about it lyrically sticking with me after the fact either. But what's even worse is the song Easy featuring Summer Walker, which is an attempt at a kind of groovy, bassy, nocturnal R&B duet where neither artist is really singing all that well, or at least are written in such a way where they are singing beyond their singing abilities. Plus, the vocal melodies play against the background instrumentation in a really sour, hideous way. Like, it's unappealing in every way imaginable. Even the lyrics being as explicit and as redundant as they are is a huge turnoff. This is easily the worst song here. But following this, we do get the heartening Mama, which is produced very tastefully, and it's a love your mom song. It's a beautiful mom tribute that at the end lays a very clever reference down to the Tupac song about his mother. But Aminé goes over his mom working long shifts and being a great influence on his life, his biggest supporter, someone who's been there for him, someone who's important to him, someone who he hopes to pay back with his newfound success in music. And it's just cute how throughout the song he envisions the ways in which his mom can continue to be a part of his life as it changes because of what he's doing in hip-hop. It's just a really cute, moving song. How could you not love it? But then we get the following track, Becky, which is kind of an odd number about trying to overcome those awkward struggles that come with an interracial relationship. Close-minded people being disrespectful or staring, their respective families not liking the idea, your friends not being into it. It can be weird depending on the individuals you're surrounded with. And Aminé's lyrics about being fed up with a world that he can't change are certainly relatable, but I cannot ignore the fact that there is some annoyingly bad singing on the song. And on top of that, lyrically, this is another moment where the topic is so robust, potentially, but Aminé is just barely scratching the surface. Like, the main verse of the song, or at least what feels like the main verse, just repeats in the second half and doesn't go any deeper into the topic at hand. The track Fetus is a much more powerful cut by comparison, where Aminé is exploring the concept of teenage parenthood, young love, sex, etc., but also not feeling ready to bring a kid into this world yet. And he passionately encourages listeners to put some thought into this decision before you just jump into it accidentally, encouraging people to use protection, make the right decisions, all of that. Then we have Injury Reserve featuring on the cut, and they of course bring great perspective to this song, specifically Groggs, who was a parent at the time that he recorded his verse here. He has now since passed away, which just adds to the sobering reality of what he's saying on the song. I mean, damn, it's so heavy. Hearing him again and hearing him on a song with this topic, it's heavy. Parker Corey of Injury Reserve does production for this track as well. So forlorn, so soulful. Then My Reality is a triumphant Kanye-inspired closer. From the drums to the auto-tuned lead vocal breakdown around the midpoint, it is Kanye all the way, to the point where it's really the only track on the record that strikes me as being supremely derivative. Not only derivative, but a little underwhelming as well, because it feels like everything about this song could be building to a really epic climax of some sort, but it never quite gets there. The whole thing feels like it's locked into a middling pace. But despite the somewhat underwhelming finish, I think Limbo is a pretty good collection of tracks, Aminé's best collection of tracks so far. However, I did come away from this thing feeling like it could have used a little something extra. Some bigger beats, some bigger features, maybe a few extra verses here and there, and definitely some songs where it doesn't feel like he went as deep into the topic at hand as he could have. Still, Limbo, notable improvement. I'm feeling a decent 7 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Check that out, or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Aminé, Limbo, forever.